Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming out to the session. My name is Diane Strutner. I'm the VP of Business Development at Nice People at Work. And we are a big data analytics company that focuses on the end user experience. So we're capturing information directly from video players, and we're using this information to make predictions about if users are going to engage with content well. And the reason why I'm hosting this panel is I thought it's really, we can gather a lot of information around how content gets delivered, but after it's delivered, are we delivering the actual content that our viewers want to be seeing? And in an ideal world, we can connect all of this together. We can have this 360-degree feedback loop where we deliver great content, the content gets delivered to our end users who consume it, and we gather feedback to create better content that then continues to be delivered. So delivering content is one challenge, and there's a lot of tools out there like ours that we can use to make sure content gets delivered well. But deciding what content should get delivered is an entirely separate challenge. This is the challenge of personalization. So a recent study from PayWizard found that experience matches the content as the top factors in what users use to decide what streaming services they're going to be buying. So the experience is something that we're able to gather lots of metrics around, but understanding what people like to watch, when they want to see this content, how they want to see it, this is a much more complex issue. So I wanted to share a little bit of an example about why personalization is challenging. And I thought I'd come up with a little game to start off our panel. So this is my lovely family. This is my mom and my dad and my twin brother. My parents are both in their 60s. My brother is obviously my age. He's 26. They both live in Northern California. My brother lives down here in Southern California. What I wanted to have you do is determine from these sets of recently viewed items in our Netflix account which family member watched each of them. So we have A, there's some animated stuff. We have some mystery. B, we have some travel type content. And C, we have quite a mixture. So if you all take a second to determine if it's my mom or my dad or my brother who watched A, B, and C. So the answers. My dad wanted to watch the animated film. I don't know why. My mom wanted to watch Anthony Bourdain, and my brother wanted to watch How I Met Your Mother. So just as an example, I think that if we take what most tools use today to do personalization of content, it's often around segmentation. But segmentation can be faulty. We use things like demographic information to determine who we show content to, and that's maybe not the best approach to doing this. So what I wanted to do is open this up to our wonderful panel here today, and they're going to tell us about how they're tackling the challenges of personalization. And it'd be great if every one of you can introduce yourselves, and we can begin with some questions.
Sure, I'll start. I'm Mike Flynn. I'm the CTO at Studio 71. We're an online media network and digital talent agency. So we create content ourselves all the way to huge YouTube stars like Epic Mealtime, all the way down to up-and-coming kids with their cell phone playing Minecraft or something. And so the technology team, what I run, we worry about bringing all those stats together, answering a lot of these questions for the employees, but also for the content creators as well.
My name is Jeremy Stern. I'm an analytics architect at WillowTree. We are digital solutions specialists focusing on making great experiences on mobile first, native apps, also web, moving into other devices, and we cover the whole process from initial UX research into the design, the front-end development, and ongoing analysis and optimization. And I'm involved because really we consider data and analytics throughout the entire process, guiding that initial research phase as part of all of our designs, helping our designers make their decisions and fine-tune, and then once the app is live, optimizing for future versions in terms of features and design decisions.
I'm Samir Chaudhry. I'm here from Whistle Sports. Originally, I founded a network called the Lacrosse Network. video content all about the sport of lacrosse. Was then acquired by a company called Whistle Sports, which is where I am today. At Whistle Sports, we create sports content across social platforms. We're a sports community. We have everything from YouTube creators to Instagram and across all social platforms. Probably most notably, one of our YouTube creators, Dude Perfect, does a bunch of trick shots and very fun sports content that's geared much more towards a millennial audience. So yeah, we use all kinds of social platforms, and I think it'll be fun to talk about some of the challenges we face distributing on third-party platforms, as well as some of the exciting things about doing that as well. So that's me.
I'm Chris Roselli, and I'm president and founder of a company called HOLLYWOODLAND, which is due to launch at the end of the year. And what we do is we create a place where content, artists, brands can all really integrate in a way where we monetize the content and the experience. We do incorporate with third-party platforms, but what we really feel is though the engagement within the content itself is really what we're after here. That's why we're all on this panel here talking about analytics and how to create the best experience for the end consumer. And what we do is we try and match the end consumer with the brands, the artists, and the content and create the seamless experience. So I look forward. I come in more on a user experience side, and I know Samir does as well. So you'll have up here more tech and experience, and hopefully we can collaborate a little bit.
Now, I know I often think of the concept of personalization as being something about how do I get the right content to the right individuals, but also the delivery vehicle in which we're creating and distributing this content is quite important. So how do we use analytics, and how does this affect the product design? Chris or Jeremy, maybe?
Yeah, I'll go. So, you know, for the end consumer, you know, our ultimate goal is really to kind of create the experience to have the brands and the content distribution and, of course, the end consumer to really attach to the content, right? That's our ultimate goal. So what we do with the analytics is we try and prescribe what is next. I mean, it's really no secret what we're trying to do here, but what we want to do the most is take the human approach, right? Because analytics is one thing, but if you just do analytics, you're only going to get so far. So what we do is we combine the human approach with the analytics and create the experience so you become more of that artist, more of that brand, right? And you get more engaged with the content. So, you know, it's not just about prescribing, it's about creating an engagement for the end consumer and letting them understand that what they are creating in their behavior is their behavior and can be used for their benefit. So,
yeah, we use the analytics a lot when we're considering the user experience and the design. You know, content creators are creating great content. We want to create a great environment for them to view that content, and we really want to take away as many barriers as possible between the person who's trying to binge watch their newest obsession and what they're watching. So we use the analytics a lot internally, not even our clients, but we use it, our designers, just to see, you know, how quickly are people able to get to a specific show that they're trying to watch? Where are people dropping off in different flows? You know, how can we really minimize or maximize the time spent engaging with content and minimize the amount of time navigating, browsing, trying to find things?
Awesome. So also, you know, there are some things that we can track. There are things that we cannot or currently cannot. So what are the metrics that we do not have access to that would be helpful for personalization, and how are you guys working around them right now?
So, you know, all of our content is on other platforms, right? It's on YouTube, it's on Vine for a few more weeks, it's on Snapchat or Facebook. And all of those give you varying degrees of analytics back. I mean, they know what's going on, but they just give us a window. So yeah, would I like to have who's actually viewing it? Of course. But we don't get that for personalization reasons or private reasons. So you have to work around those kind of things. So for example, one of the things we like to do is figure out who should collaborate. So, you know, maybe YouTube star A and YouTube star B want to collaborate, well, that actually makes sense. Is there a shared audience there that will get them excited about that? So we have subscribers, and we have engagements, and we have comments. And so clipping all those together, you can kind of get a view of this person commented here, this person commented here, or this person liked here, and then also commented here. And you can kind of work around and get a shared audience without actually having the audience. And that's the kind of games you have to work around with all these platforms.
Yeah, and to go off of that, I mean, we exist primarily on YouTube and obviously on other platforms. But I think for me as a content creator myself, Mike mentioned the comments. And I think comments, as much as you can sort through them and really understand, we really feel like we're creating content not necessarily for the audience, but with the audience. And that their feedback really goes into shaping our creative. So I think better understanding the person on the other side through their comments, through what they're saying, at what point they're saying it, across all platforms. That's Instagram, Facebook, every platform where we're producing video content. I think would be the best thing to understand deeper. So yeah, that kind of feedback really shapes our creative and what we're making.
Yeah, I mean, social channels are really important. They're not going anywhere. We can reach a mass audience there. There are some difficulties when it comes to providing a personalized experience on social platforms. So knowing that we have limited access to analytics from social platforms, what are some of the best ones that we can use to help personalize and improve content that are available from these social platforms?
Okay. I mean, engagement again, right? I mean, those engagement metrics are one, critical, and two, pretty much all you get. So you can kind of figure out ways to you said comments, and not just that they commented, but is the comment a happy comment? Is the comment a sad comment? Do they mention, if it's a brand video, do they mention the brand in there? There's a lot of data in those comments if you know where to look and know how to look. Same with just how many likes they're happening, or what areas the likes are happening on, or different topics the video user is kind of going to. You don't get everything, but there are ways to kind of go deeper in some of these that is valuable, and will turn around and will provide that information to the creator to help shape their content.
And are some of those, the sentiment analysis, for example, from the comments, is that a tool that you guys are using or have purchased, or something you've developed in-house?
In that case, we developed that in-house.
Cool.
But I wouldn't be surprised if that starts getting built into platforms more in the future. I was talking earlier, so for us, the closest equivalent is looking at reviews in an app store. And Google, I think a couple months back maybe, released sentiment analysis built into the developer console, so you can see topic analysis. Here are the top 5 things people are mentioning in their comments, and here's how positive or negative those different topics skew. And they just drop that in there, and it's a huge benefit for some of these smaller companies that don't have time or don't have the ability to run their own sentiment analysis. They can just, it's not perfect. You need to dive in, but it gives you a really good starting place. And I think as machine learning skill sets kind of grow out there, I bet a lot of these tool sets will build that sort of reporting in, or I hope so.
No doubt. I mean, I think there's good and bad, but there's also, is it a buying sentiment? There's 1,000 places you can go. But yes, I definitely see good and bad kind of being a standard. Happy, sad, I guess, would be a standard.
Happy, sad. Sounds good. And something else that I think is relevant as well is, we're able to stream the content, we put it into a customized environment, and then we have to watch and see what happens. So part of the challenge here, I think, is also creating content that's really engaging for users. So are any of you guys implementing any ways in which you see how content gets consumed and then creating a feedback loop back to the content creators themselves and saying, hey, this is really working, go create more of this content, so that we actually create content that our users want and will watch and we'll all benefit business-wise from that? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a content creator myself. With my first platform, the Lacrosse Network, I still create content for it. I'm on camera. I'm editing, and I'm very much in the weeds of creating content, as well as managing content creators in the sports space. So I would say for me, the most important thing to do as a content creator and to coach other content creators is to be take some pressure off of creating the content. What I mean by that is not everything has to be the biggest production in the world. If you keep it simple and you keep it easy, you're able to produce, get feedback, and produce again the next day. This right here is actually a camera I use all the time to produce content. It's really small. You can take it everywhere you want. You can record content, put up a video, and in 24 hours have feedback. So our analytics team at Whistle Sports is really awesome and able to give us metrics on retention time, how long should your video be, what kind of engagements are you getting. But really the reality when I coach other content creators is, just take some pressure off of it. Make it easy to produce. You'll get the response and allow that to craft what the end product looks like. And it's okay online to have it be evolving over time and transform into the format that it eventually becomes. But that's probably been the best advice that I've gotten and given for content creators today.
Chris?
Well, he is content creation, so I mean, I think that's an amazing way to really kind of look at things. It's trial and error, learning experiences. What we do in our world is we find out a way for the brands and the content creators to reach the audience, right? Obviously with the analytics that are provided out there right now, we can find some type of engagement or some type of interest in things. But in the content creation, it's not just about one party creating. It's about the brands involved in that content and branded content. It's about the artists involved in that and finding ways to attach everything into the social media ecosphere as well and bring all of that attention into one space. But I kind of defer to you when it comes to what to create, how to create it, time, all of those things, because we're all after the one-to-one experience, and the brands are after the one-to-one experience, so are the artists and so are the content creators. So, I think, there are amazing professionals that are amazingly successful, and, when it's on a larger level or a smaller level, the churn on the larger level seems to be bigger, but when you create specific content for specific audiences, you get real engagements, you know what I mean? And I think that's probably the most important thing, is what we're after, is the one-to-one experience. How do we attach to an individual? So
I'll add a little bit on that too, because we have the same thing, trying to tell creators how to what are we seeing to help them make better content. And I think the key is, because they are super busy, and that is hard work to run a YouTube channel successfully. And so I think when you do push information towards them, it's really got to be actionable. A graph of, here's your watch time is great, but they want to be able to say, make it longer, make it shorter, mention this, stop mentioning this. Very actionable items, if you can find them in the data, are what really creators will grab onto. They can say, oh, okay, great, I'll do that in my next video I'm going to shoot in 5 minutes. Like that kind of quick insight is what they're looking for.
Kind of a different set of metrics almost, the way that you translate our metrics, which is play time, into make this longer,
right.
make this
Turn it into
shorter.
an actual direction.
Got it. And in terms of metrics, we wouldn't be talking about analytics if we didn't have metrics. What are some of the key metrics that you guys are looking at, and what types of tools are you using to gather these metrics? Are they built in-house? Are they third-party tools? Combination of the two?
I'll say for us, my big thing is the data is everything. We have a relationship with content creators, and we have the videos we produce that they run and they own. But the data is the most important piece. So we use some third-party tools, but I like to make sure that we have our tools pulling in the data, that we have our own little master business intelligence database from Facebook and from YouTube and all these things. So I think there's a mix. Not everyone has a development team. So you're going to have to kind of mix and match as it makes sense for you. But I do feel that the data is everything. And so owning as much as possible your snapshot of what your content is doing is critical. And then being very careful about who you give access to and what segment of your data you're giving access to, because everyone's after the same thing, is who's on what network, how are you doing, is this content working, is this content not working, and it's there's always a mix, but it's got to be careful about how that mix works for your business.
It's interesting for us when we're making a site or an app or something for our clients who tend to be larger cable networks or broadcast channels. It really depends what tools we recommend on the client and their familiarity with analytics, their level of expertise. There are tools out there that are extremely powerful, extremely configurable, and very, very hard to learn. And if you know that there's a product owner there who is going to have to teach themselves this complicated tool to answer any questions, it's not worth the level of power there. It's better to find a tool with great built-in reporting, really easy for them to run their own reports. Whereas if there's a team where there's a whole floor of data scientists somewhere and they're going to be the ones crunching the numbers and they're going to be the ones reporting, they can kind of use those more involved platforms. I found personally in my own company, I don't want to be the bottleneck for finding insights in the data. I don't want it to be so hard for people to look at the data that they feel like they have to ask me to know how many people are on this operating system, how many people are watching videos in portrait versus landscape, like questions that they should be able to probably look at really quickly, but in their mind, analytics are kind of this confusing realm that we need to go talk to the experts in. And so in that situation, I think easy to understand, easily readable third-party tools can be a huge benefit.
I would like to add to that as well, because in what we do, whether it be a brand, whether it be an artist, whether it be a content creator, everybody has to see things in a different way, and sometimes it does get really intimidating when you have a sheet of analytics, so we kind of have to package it up in a certain way to artists. We have to package it up in a different way to brands. They have different intent on what they're really looking for, but we really have to simplify everything and put it in a format to where it's all understandable, but it all communicates, because they're all really after the same thing. So I echo that.
So, segmentation, I think, has been part of the standard today, especially when it comes to things like content recommendation. But the goal really is providing an individualized experience for the end user. So their look and feel might be unique to that individual user, and the content that they're consuming from that portal will also be unique. So how do we get there?
Well, I wish I could share a little bit more about our platform, but we're trying to kind of go down before we come up right now, so towards the end of the year. But, our whole goal is really, putting power where power really, really should be is in the influencer. And to really create the experience where they can have the emotional experience with the end consumer. But to also give the end consumer the same abilities to kind of create their own world. We live on all these other platforms, right? But these are all external platforms. We bring all those platforms into one place to where we really, really empower the emotional experience to the end consumer, to the brand, to the content owners, to the artist, and really kind of create more of a seamless environment, right? Where we don't have to skip all over the place. We can really just really get consumed. And you want to find out more about an artist, you can. You want to find out how the brand's attached, you can. You want to know what charities they're working with, you can, right? In all these places, you don't have to search. So what we create is a place for people to individualize their experiences. And we do the same thing for brands and content. So really looking forward to sharing that stuff with you guys towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I guess I could probably talk about this, about how we exist on third-party social platforms. For me, again, to bring up the my first project, the Lacrosse Network, that's a network specifically for lacrosse fans. And being a part of a bigger sports network, the Lacrosse Network itself has 60 different influencers, which feels like a lot for such a small vertical. When you zoom out into Whistle Sports, we have a basketball community, a golf community, and what we do is we create these little sub-communities and sub-verticals to house all the different creators. So hey, here, you're a lacrosse fan. Okay, here, go to the lacrosse network. And as you're clicking around, you're going to enjoy the 60 different creators that we have in that space. So even though sports, we feel like, hey, this is a vertical within just YouTube content and content in general, we're trying to make it smaller on these different platforms by creating brands. If you go across Instagram, you'll see tons of different brands for different sports and different verticals that will then guide you to the content that we feel like you're going to want to watch.
I think that's a key point, is that YouTube and all these things are, you don't have access. Not everyone can just not everyone has the resources to go and make another YouTube, and even if you did, there's no guarantee people are going to go to it. So you have to kind of tweak what your thought of personalization is on these platforms. That means making multiple channels is exactly the kind of thing, is breaking things off into smaller chunks, and that could be a form of personalization. Finding ways to bridge content together to kind of connect some of those groups so that you can move one group into another group you wanted to move into. You can't always just make a video with one person in mind. You've got to be able to make it with the smallest group possible, so to target it, but you don't have that ability if you don't own the platform. So kind of changing and flipping around what personalization means is super important on these effectively broadcast platforms.
And I think one thing that Mike mentioned earlier was collaborations, and I think that's a really interesting way to bridge groups of people together and actually guide them on a third-party platform is through collaborations and through engagements across creators.
And it's interesting. So again, I'm coming from a different perspective. For us, the idea of personalization a lot of the time would be some sort of recommendation engine process, when you finish watching a movie, letting you know the next movie you should watch. And that's hard to just jump into from nothing. And there are ways to ease your way in. And I think, as you were saying, Dan, segmentation isn't the best, but it's a starting place. And if that's all you have to start, just, the broad information you have, and then just be looking to the future, start collecting the data you need, even if we're not going to have the resources to really invest in personalization for 3 years. By the time you're there, that's 3 years of data that you could have been collecting to use. So be thinking towards the future, be kind of aspirational on what you can be doing. And in the meantime, kind of like what you guys were saying about, people can choose what channels they want. Don't be afraid to just ask your users. It's not as magical as just telling them what they wanted before they know, but still just ask them, what genres do you want? What do you want on your watch list? Do you want us to remind you when this show comes back for another season? It's not new and flashy, but it's still personalization, and it still makes a better experience for the users.
Great points.
That's true. I'm going to push you guys just a little bit. I want to know how we can, for those of you that are in the content creation side, what are the actual methods you guys are using to communicate with the content creators? Are you sending them emails? Are you, texting them? Or do you have other tools in place? Do you have automated systems? Where are we at in terms of the tools to create that feedback loop to actually create better content?
So for Studio 71, we have a dashboard they log into. The meat of the dashboard is they can log in and see how much money they're going to make this month. That's why they come back every month, right? But while they're there, we tell them, here's some information, and you need to make sure you're tagging your videos better, or this video did great, you should do more of those things, or you share an audience with this guy, you guys should talk. That's where we kind of try to push those information. And yes, we still have a talent manager, but kind of giving those daily reports and affirmations in some level of as they log in to see how much money they're going to make is a great hit point for us.
Yeah, I mean, along the same lines for us, we have a creator newsletter. We do actual physical meetups, and we bring them in and talk to them. So from the level of coaching the creators, we're giving them weekly, bi-weekly information about it. But from the creator to their audience, to get feedback, I would say you look right into the camera and you say, hey, let me know what content you guys would want to see next week. What do you want to see me do? Would you guys be interested if I did a collaboration with this creator? It's the beauty of what we're doing right now and how much this has evolved, and the reason why me personally is so infatuated by producing video content on the internet. It's conversation. It's truly incredible to be able to look into a lens and say to someone, hey, or say to someone, say to 1 million people or 10,000 people, hey, what do you guys want to see next week? And then have comments below. And
How many comments do you?
yeah,
What would be the type of engagement you'd get from that type
Sure.
of process?
Yeah, so for us, I mean, we're fairly, we're a little bit smaller, but a very engaged community. Probably 1,500 comments or so, and you can, as a creator, you are infatuated by those. You want to read them, you want to sift through them, and you want to see what people are saying. So anywhere from 200 to 1,500, I would say, and then on bigger videos, something that might hit a little harder, close to 5,000 comments, and
Right.
going through those obviously is overwhelming, but just taking a look for 5 minutes through them, you can learn a lot, especially if you're asking a question or if you're asking someone to, maybe you've run out of ideas for a video, and you ask your audience for an idea, and you say, hey, send me an email to this email. We do that at the Lacrosse Network. We have kids submit UGC in different ways, whether it's on Instagram or over email, or even built a culture of kids providing feedback on email. So yeah, it's a tedious process. It's nothing automated for us as a creator. There are ways to think about it in the numbers, but for us, we're really just looking at our audience and having a conversation. And I think that's the nature of what we're doing here.
Yeah, Ben, great point, and you touched on it too, is you do kind of forget to just say, have you asked them?
Yeah.
To echo that, we had to do some research on some of our channels, and someone in the room just goes, why don't we just put a survey link in the description of the video? And we're like, I don't know, we'll see how much it gets. It was amazing response. I mean, we couldn't freaking believe how many people filled out this long survey because the creator who they love and watch every day said, hey, do me a favor and fill out this survey so I can know more about you. And it was just amazing. I mean, amazing amount of data just by purely setting up a survey and asking them.
Yeah.
I could piggyback on that. We one time just did an Excel sheet where we asked kids to fill out what they liked and didn't like, and it was it was incredible. It was a Google sheet, and the response was amazing. So
That's how you personalize the experience.
right, yeah,
They're content creators now,
Right.
right?
Yeah, that's
fantastic.
great. Well, I think that's it for the pre-planned questions that we had. Are there any questions from the audience? Don't be shy. Yeah, go ahead.
Some of you talked a little bit about tools you're using, but you didn't mention any.
So sorry, to repeat the question.
I'm interested in which tools, one of the comments was about analytics tools that are too complicated for clients. The complicated ones that which are the ones.
So the question is, which tools are being used? There was mention of some complex and some less complex ones. What are some of those tools that are being used? Which ones are complex? Which ones are simpler?
Yeah, so for me, I'm again talking about web page analytics and app analytics. And so it's things like Adobe Analytics is one of the ones that's really powerful, but very complicated, involves a lot of training, involves a lot of effort to set up. And it's great for these larger kind of enterprise situations, but if you're a small company just kind of getting started, it might be too much for you. Whereas Google Analytics is the free one that's been around for a long time. Yahoo has Flurry. There's a bunch of those out there that are free, get you a lot of what you want to just get started. They might not have everything. You might outgrow them at some point or move from a free tier to a paid tier. But for a lot of people, those free services provide more than enough to get them going.
So those would be the types of web analytics tools that you guys are using. Are there other groups of tools that you're using?
Most of what we pull is coming from the APIs of the system. So, yes, YouTube provides a dashboard, and the clients have access to that in their YouTube account. We pull the data, then try to simplify it for them. There's a smattering of Chrome extensions and a few other things you can, like Epoxy is out there, and a few other things you can log that clients can sign up for, link their YouTube account, and do the same thing we're doing. Pull over the analytics data and kind of pull out some information on your social accounts, your YouTube accounts. There's a bunch out there that I'm escaping, but Epoxy jumps to mind, and Same thing, other kind of tools that are coming up too is analyzing comments. That's a kind of a hot area with the machine learning stuff. No one's really jumped out, but there's a bunch of those kind of starting to bubble up.
Yeah, I was going to mention Epoxy as well. It's a great tool. It's fairly easy to use.
I know you got a lot of analytics tools. Christopher, what are some of the ones that you guys are using?
Well, we like to use you guys over there, nice people at work.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not in much of the tech side of things, but I think these guys are, more equipped to answer that particular question.
Yeah. I know that Christopher is trying to use data across his whole business, so he's using a lot of big data tools to get in lots of different types of information and gather insights from that. Are there other questions we have? Okay, over there.
I have a question because looking at your comments, most of you are using descriptive analytics. Have any of you used advanced just-in-time predictive analytics as well as prescriptive analytics, like predicting how viral a content is going to be, or predicting what is the potential of a content, or what are the viral topics as of now? Those type of tools are used, or our tools are like that.
So I think your question is, you use a lot of analytics tools to see what's happened, and are you guys using any tools in the prediction space?
I don't know of any tools at the top of my head that are really focused on predictive. We certainly, that's one of the reasons we do our in-house analytics, is that we can look at trends across the networks. We have all that in one spot. And then, it's hard to do a lot of testing because it's just the one video on YouTube, but there are some things we were doing to try to apply comments and or apply tags and things that change things, and then using that to infer future views. But it's tough on the platform. But yes, we are trying to. That is absolutely a goal that I try to do more and more, is to try to guess what's coming next, for sure.
Yes, down here in front.
So, so you guys talked a lot about sentiment analysis and comment analysis. How are you using other data sources to influence the development of a personalized experience, like Facebook Open Graph or even weather data? How are you using those other data sources?
So the question is, what additional data sources are being used to create a more personalized experience? Yeah. Like Facebook Open Graph.
That's not a question for me.
I mean, I'll take this one. The base, the table stakes for our business is to have Open Graph, YouTube. We kind of hacked the Vine API to get some stuff out of there. They're closing down, so it doesn't matter. Snapchat's a black hole, but we kind of get all that stuff into one database. So that's just the table stakes. We haven't. We do use, like I said, sentiment analysis, trying to see the keywords they're using in the comments, try to see an action inferring, are they going to go see the movie that they were talking about? Those kind of actions are difficult for the training, but we're trying to move towards there. We haven't looked at, there's some location, but not we haven't looked at weather or anything like yet. Our audience is fairly broad, so our localization is more countries and how much are people are using the captions, or where are they viewing it from? If someone has a huge audience in Spain, should we make sure we have Spanish captions on it? Things like that is kind of the step we're at based on the information we have available.
Anything else beyond sentiment analysis? Are there any other ways that you guys are looking at how users are engaging with the content to personalize the experience? And am I?
Is there anything you folks do on a corporate level to assessing sentiment within a company, or
Interesting.
what people are thinking about?
Is there anything that's being done at a corporate level to assess in terms of sentiment analysis?
So not public facing, just within the company itself.
We haven't. We've only focused on the public directly on the content so far. That's interesting, though.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
It's an interesting question.
Over here?
Yes, somewhat of piggyback on the first question regarding tools. There's recent controversy
So specifically around Facebook, there was a recent revelation that some of the numbers that they were putting out were not accurate. So outside of the APIs that Facebook makes available, are there other ways which you guys are able to gather information about the engagement on that platform?
So, is there a way to check Facebook based on their numbers? Not really. They kind of give you what they give you. I mean, there are ways to kind of view inside the numbers, and I think so you can look at watch time in addition to views, because that's a key one on Facebook. For a while, they were taking, if it scrolled by your feed, it was a view, so they'd boost those numbers up. So, you go, yeah, I got a lot of views, but what was the average watch time? Oh, nothing. So then you can kind of, downgrade those numbers a little bit. So you've got to kind of look, and I think it's important to also, this is where you kind of bug your rep or people over there, is to understand, what does a view mean for you? What is what metric are you tracking? That kind of information is key to go with the data, so that then you can tell people, yeah, you got a lot of views, but don't get too excited. It was only 1 second at a time, kind of stuff like that.
Actually, so that's an interesting point, and we run into this in what we do, where everybody understands what a metric might mean, like buffer ratio, but then it could be calculated differently. So between the different social platforms, have you noticed any abnormalities in the way that things are recorded, like a view on Facebook versus a view on another type of social platform? Have you figured any abnormalities out, or are they all looking at it the same way?
No, and that's a huge problem, is that we don't have a good standard of a view count if you watch more than half of it or something like that. I don't know. There's no standard like that right now. And that's what's so important, to dig in and understand what triggers. I mean, watch time is standard. How much did you watch? But those kind of high-level metrics, of view is the biggest one, is what exactly do you think a view means? It's changed at Facebook, for example, a few times, and understanding when the next thing comes up, whatever replaces Vine, hype is whatever it's called. That thing is, what's the view definition there? Is it going to be a loop? Is it going to be, if you watch half the loop, does it count? All that stuff is super critical to understand, so that you can understand the analytics you're getting back.
Interesting. Do we have other questions? Am I missing anyone? No? All right. Guys, thank you so much today for this panel. I think it was really informative. And yeah, hopefully between the types of tools that we have now and using some progressive methods, working away from segmentation, we can really get to that goal of creating a personalized experience, but it's going to take a lot of work. So thank you very much.